Get sturdy as fuck.
This is it.
I should be over all the butterflies, but I'm into you. And baby, even on the worst nights, I'm into you.
All right, we're here with a very special guest. You know him because he's an award-winning filmmaker at the Barstool Chicago Film Festival. It's Tom Leigh. How we doing, brother?
What's up, guys? Barstool Breakdown.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah,
Welcome. Finally on the program. We appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. So my issue with you, Tom, is you're kind of a ghost. You're hard to learn about, and I think that's why this is going to be such a great episode, because no one knows like what the fuck Tom Leigh's doing, man. He's an award-winning filmmaker, but what else are you up to? So before we get into what you're up to, though, I kind of want to know like what got you to where you are. I looked at your LinkedIn. I did my research. You went from production assistant to a production assistant. So you've always been into production, it seems like. And that's after what? Fairfield? Is that where we went to school? See, I told you, bro. I did my in-depth stuff. But I too was a production assistant. So going from a production assistant, obviously you're into the sports media game, or maybe it wasn't sports media, maybe it's just production. Because like Frankie said, you're an award-winning filmmaker now. So what got you into Barstool? What got you making movies for, in Chicago? How'd this all start for you?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thanks for having me. I don't think I said that, but you want me to? I mean, I can get into I have kind of like a long or convoluted beginning story, I guess, with Barstool. Just I've been here for a while, but I feel like everyone has like their own story. But yeah, I mean, I started out, I was a film major at Fairfield, so I think I originally wanted to be like a movie director, that was like my childhood dream. It was like the one thing I always knew I wanted to do was like wanted to be in like the movie industry. So check. Yeah, sorry,
I said check.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, in a way, yeah, that's a recent development too. So that was
that's awesome, dude. What was your major? That was actually one of my questions. You said you wanted to be a filmmaker. Is that like what you majored in?
Yeah, so I was a film major at Fairfield.
Yeah, cool, awesome.
Which was that was a great experience, and I had like a great program where it was I was lucky that the reason I chose Fairfield, like I didn't have to have like a portfolio to get accepted, because I wasn't doing a lot of hands-on work in high school. I didn't really have that experience. So a lot of film schools, you need to like submit a portfolio. Like you'll basically already need to be a filmmaker when you're like a freshman entering. So yeah, off the jump, I was able to kind of like collaborate with like a small team and have my hands on cameras and editing. And after I graduated, it turns out, like that's not really a super viable industry to get into. You can't just like, there's no like entry level ladder to climb to be in the film industry, which, I think everyone kind of learns at their own pace. But so TV, and I'm born and raised in Manhattan. So after college, just kind of my moving back home was moving back to the city, New York. So I was able to live at home and just try to get involved as any way as I could. I wound up office production assistant at a TV show, couple TV shows, a movie. And yeah, along the way, I've been a diehard Barstool fan. I'm 31 now. So when I was in college, in 2011 to 2015, I feel like that was prime Barstool years.
Yeah.
Old Barstool.
What were you watching back then?
He was guess that ass just like Fasoli, I
bet. I was, huge Rundown fan, huge any kind of Dave challenges from the Milton office. So I had always kind of known that Barstool was a force, and it always seemed like they were always moving in the right direction. And while I was watching all their content, you can't help but notice all the countless times that like Dave would complain about the lack of like video production help they would have. So I would be like, even in college, sending emails to whatever email I could find, like, hey, I'm a film major, but I'll do whatever. Like I followed like Hank's story pretty closely too, because we're pretty much the same age. So he had I think he was wanted to do production at a college and just wound up dropping out to pursue Barstool. So
he must have pissed you off, man. He didn't have any actual any actual video production stuff.
No, he was a huge inspiration, if anything.
Okay, all right.
Kind of seeing like it kind of, I guess, opened my eyes to like like production could be more than just, there was other routes than just being like in the movie.
You could just lie, like, hey.
I like to tell people.
I'm just kidding.
Wait, sorry, I missed that.
He
No, I
said,
said
he
you
said
just
you could
lie
just,
because
Yeah,
Hank just lied
that's what he
about
did.
what he knew
Oh,
how to
yeah,
do and then
yeah.
admitted it like very soon after.
Yo, that's I did that at some point. Honestly,
Lucas admitted it to us too. Lucas was just like,
Oh,
yeah, I
yeah.
just said I could do everything, and he's like, I didn't do shit, dude. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
was like, let me get in there.
yeah, sorry to interrupt.
I can tell people it's funny because like when I was in college, like what my job is now, like didn't really exist. So there was no like studying to be what I am now. Like this whole industry of internet media and on, it's kind of taken over everything. And you look now, like everyone's saying like the movie industry is dead. It's not the same. And it's true. Like, it's just crazy to kind of like live through that. It's been a huge shift. So, so when I was, back to like post-grad off like production assistant, and that's the worst job in the world. I think that really like is the reason I became so like hungry, and I can account any kind of success I had at Barstool with knowing that anytime I was like going through some tough times at Barstool, like the grind in the beginning of just trying to like get full time, and I just knew the other side was TV production assistant work is miserable. It's like the worst,
I've been there.
worst I've ever had in my life. You're just doing kind of like monkey office jobs, like making photocopies, getting lunches. I had to drive people around like I was a Uber driver.
Yep.
So
delivering tape, holding wire. Yeah, I've been there before, man.
so you understand.
I appreciate that hunger because I actually I think I've told this before, Frankie. You might have heard it before, but I replied all by accident, trying to message my boss saying, "Hey, I want to do more. I'm better than these guys on camera. I know how to shoot a game."
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and basically I sent it to the whole company, so everyone saw it. So my nickname was Reply All.
Damn.
Yeah, it worked though. I was running camera next week.
Oh, hell yeah. There you go.
Yeah. The hunger's worth it, man.
Well, I wasn't even in a position to do that kind of stuff because it was like the shows I was working on, it was like Elementary on NBC, and then it was Power on Stars, and then it was I worked on like a movie, The Dark Tower, with like Idris Elba, like big huge productions. So you're more like, there is no opportunity. It's all unions. Like there's no opportunity to be creative at all. So I had been used to like kind of working with a small team and being collaborative and working with cameras and editing, and like you like making short films in college, to not touching anything, not touching cameras, not touching an editing software. So after like a year of doing that, I was kind of like starting to lose any type of like hope of pursuing any type of future in that TV industry. And I was even considering like, all right, is there like a pivot that I do here in my life? And it was just, right place, right time, right mental state I was in, where I had that hunger and I had that kind of desperation. And I had already been a diehard fan of Barstool, and I had already been like trying to do anything I could to work with them. And the huge churn-in announcement, big, I'll never forget it, like watching that announcement that Barstool was going to become this company that had a headquarters in New York City. And everyone that I had been, watching throughout college in that small Milton office, they were all, everyone, even Smitty, Nate, like everyone who was working at Barstool just remotely, just becoming one office in New York. I was like, holy shit, like they're coming to where I am. So I knew that was something that I had to pursue. I was like, this is it. This is what I need this is like a sign. I got to do anything I can to get involved with this, because this is like too perfect of an opportunity. So 2016, I think it was. Yeah, it was like the summer of 2016. And I was, I'll never forget, it was an email. It was Erica Nardini like tweeted, like, if you want the internship of a lifetime, email me at, whatever her Barstool email was at the time. Emailed her, kind of a funny little like snafu on my part too. I emailed her like super, like I was so just excited and trying to be like kind of like selling myself in the email, like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and this is my experience, and I would love to get an interview. And her response, like the way I worded it, it was like, wow, you seem super qualified, and I'm super impressed by like everything you've done. Can you come in Friday to talk or something? And I think I was just so excited that I was just like not reading straight, and I was young and stupid, and I kind of like took it as like that was her inviting me to like come and be an intern. And like so I replied like, oh, I have my daytime job or whatever, like I'm a like production assistant. I'll just have to give them notice, whatever. And she was like, okay, but just I still have the email. It's like, just to be clear, you're coming in for an interview. And I was like, oh yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I had to let you know I gotta maybe request a time off. What time are you thinking again? Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
So that was like a while. I'll never forget that experience of like walking in that original New York headquarters, like office manager Brett, the elevator's open and you're just in the office. I don't know if you've heard people talk about that. It was the most like intimidating thing in the world. And office manager Brett, he immediately stood up. Like, I was like, holy shit, it's awesome. Because like at that point, I think I had already like kind of been following the move-in process that Barstool has been doing. So I was a little bit familiar of like what the office looked like, but just seeing it in person was crazy. And that was like the day that pretty sure it was the same day that like Glennie was getting interviewed. Like I remember Frankie was getting interviewed. It was like that original day where all those guys, like the OG guys, were getting interviewed that day. For I guess like for production assistants, they like, or for me, I don't know. I wasn't one of the interviews that got filmed, and I was interviewed with Loud Sean. It wasn't with Dave or anyone else. And also that day it was like a hot summer day, and I wore like a nice like button-down shirt and khakis, but I had a backpack on, and I sweated through the back of my shirt because of the backpack, and I put it down, and then I'm like, I get a text from Rico, my cousin, funny enough, and he's like, yo, you're at Barstool right now, and he sent me a screenshot. Someone in the office, like who runs social media, put a picture of like me sitting at the bar, like waiting with my shirt soaked through.
Oh no.
They put it on like the Barstool Sports Instagram story or Snapchat story, like intern season, like this kid's soaking, nervous, like sweating through his shirt, so nervous. I was like, fuck, I'm already getting.
That's an in though. That's cool because that's like an in Barstool. You know what I mean?
I know.
The kid in Chicago, Jacob, he had like a big mess up with Big Cat on day one that they were talking about, and now he's like he's still holding footballs for Jerry right now and Jerry After Dark.
Yeah.
I got it here on the side. You know what I mean? So it's an in to kind of sweaty back, whatever it is. It gets you recognized. So how'd the interview go?
Well,
I guess like
I know that's why this is like even part of like the story doesn't even end here, because then interview went well enough, but things were way different back then. It was like way more of a startup company kind of vibe, and it was more like the second Loud Sean figured out that I was, post grad, and I was someone who had like a full-time job in TV who was trying to intern. He was like, well, listen, this position is someone to edit the rundown, and we only need them to come in twice a week and for an hour each time. So basically 2 hours of work a week, and it's unpaid, and like legal reasons, whatever. I don't really think we can bring you on. But you're super qualified. Like you're someone that would fit here, but it's just a matter of like the position that we're looking for right now. Like I'm not sure if we're even able to bring you in for that. But like, I'll definitely have your information. So it was kind of like a soft no when I left. But it wasn't a hard, like, it wasn't like a definite, like, I didn't get denied full out. It was basically like, we don't really have the capability for someone like you right now. And I was like, all right, I don't really care. Like, I'll do whatever. Like, I'm willing to work unpaid. Like, it doesn't matter. He's like, all right, like, we'll see. So that was September. And then don't really hear anything back. I see, like, I'm watching, like, the famous Glennie race with Caleb, and I'm watching all like the content of the people who were getting hired. So I was like, shit, like, all right, I guess like that's it, And September, October, I think it was around like the beginning of it was like right around the beginning of November. I'll never forget it. I was out doing one of those like horrible jobs I had to do where I was actually like in a car, like one of the jobs we had to do was like the directors of the episodes of the TV show that I was working on at the time, Power, they would stay at a hotel, and like if they wanted anything in their hotel, I would have to drive from Brooklyn to like Manhattan downtown and like deliver something to their hotel room. And this particular day, they like didn't like the sheets in their hotel room, so I had to go to Bed Bath & Beyond, buy a new pair of sheets, go up to the hotel room and like change their sheets. And like that was my day for the day. And I remember like sitting in the car just being like, what the fuck is my life? And then I got an email from Loud Sean that said, hey, I don't know if you're still at that job, but we actually still need your help if you're willing to come in. I think he like emphasized like again, this is unpaid. It's just 2 days a week, an hour, like 2 hours. Don't quit your day job though if you can't make that work. This is like just if you want to. I'll never forget. He said like this is only like, you know, if you want like a foot in the door kind of thing. And I was like, yes. So I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I'm not gonna quit my day. I'll just come in. I can make it work. I talked to my job. Meanwhile, there's no shot that would have worked with my job. My job was super regimented. Like, we had to work 12 hours a day. I was getting paid like $20,000 salary. Like, it was miserable. I couldn't even afford to move out if I wanted to. So like the next day went in, had a face-to-face with Sean, Loud Sean, said I could do whatever he needs. And then like the day after that, I like walked into like one of the bigger like producers of the show who like was a very nice person. I forget her name, but I basically told her the situation flat out. And I was like, I'm going to like quit to pursue this. And she was like super supportive of that. And she's like, yeah, these are the years that you make those risks. So like, it was one of those things. Like Loud Sean was like, don't quit your day job over this. And I was like, you got it. And then I quit my day job. And
but dude, what a like
but
timing for you, dude. Like to get that message when you're driving sheets down from Brooklyn to Manhattan that you got to go change yourself, like thinking to yourself, like, dude, I went to school to like be on a computer and edit this shit. And I'm sitting here being a little bitch. Like, I get that. And that's fucking awesome because some people might not have taken the job if they're like, oh, I'm working for a show like Power. That's a big show. You know what I mean? They're like, who cares what I'm doing? I'm working on the show. You know, like to make that, you know, that's great.
It definitely took like my path at Barstool after that was really hard. It wasn't easy, like especially young 20s, post grad, you have, you know, college debt, you're living in Manhattan. After I accepted that, I was like, I took a huge risk by quitting my job and pursuing an unpaid internship. But a huge part of that was just me being familiar with like how cutthroat and rare an opportunity that position I had and how cutthroat the rest of the industry was, where I was like, I know what the other side is. So like, if I'm not gonna do this Barstool thing, I'm gonna have to do something else completely different. I'm gonna have to like, be some kind of boring desk job where I actually get paid a normal amount. I'm not working 80 hours a week. So, and like, it went back to, it was like Barstool, especially back then. And even now it's very similar to what my small film program was, where it was like, you have like a team of collaborators and everyone can do everything. So it's like, you're expected to be able to, you know, think, like write content, like whether it's a scripted thing or it's a, you know, man on the street, just idea. And then you also are now using that idea to then you're physically grabbing a camera, knowing videography to shoot it, knowing how microphones work, knowing how to like connect labs. And then like after that, you know how to edit it. So like, that's what I was doing in school. I did a year where like, I wasn't doing any of that. And then when I saw what Barstool was doing, I was like, this is a place where I can do that. And I know I can do that. And this is what I want to keep doing. And if it's like, if I'm going to be doing something I love, but it's like unpaid for now, then that's way more valuable of my time right now.
Yeah, you spoke on Hank being an inspiration. I think you're inspiring those like people watching this could be inspired by, you know, that story, that path, because a lot of people wouldn't be willing to do that. I mean, I was this close to re-enlisting in the Navy at one point, and my homie said, if you're going to take a chance on yourself, you better do it at 24, not 29. And you know, not that that's come to full fruition, but it's something that like you have to accept at a young age, and it's a lot of people don't. A lot of people accept that desk job and stuff. So no, that's inspiring stuff for sure. And you just mentioned that. I think the perfect example, maybe I'm fast forwarding here, but I think the perfect example of like collaboration and something we all got to see was that Barstool Chicago Film Festival, because you guys were all divided in teams. I mean, at first there were people on teams who were like, oh, what's their role going to be? And then you guys all produce these little short film bangers, and it's awesome, which like showing like what the minds at Barstool can do when they collaborate like that. It's incredible stuff. Is that something like because like you said, you walked into that after the Churn-In deal to an open office, and now you're making film festivals in Chicago. Does it ever become surreal a little bit?
Oh, totally. Like completely surreal. I mean, especially just how much like Barstool's changed and how much like my like day-to-day, just my job at Barstool has changed, because once you're in especially behind the scenes, once you're behind the scenes with Barstool, it's such a huge, vague term. You could do so many different things. Like you could be, you know, a Quigs who's only working in After Effects, or you could be someone whose specialty is really like cameras and shooting, or doing live events and doing streams. Like there's so many different paths you could do behind the scenes. So
I think you mentioned it, but I mentioned this, you know, before I got into what got you into Barstool. You are Ghost. No one really knows what goes on in Tom Leigh's day to day. So what's that look like? You break down your day to day. You know, you walk into the office tomorrow. How's it work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
He's got to think. He doesn't even know.
No, I mean, I guess it was just maybe it was the time I came in too at Barstool. Like it was when it was way earlier back then. It wasn't so much like interns were getting thrown into like content so much. It was more, and it was way different with the Dave presence. Like I was in a very heavy Dave Portnoy run office, and that was like way more intimidating. And you know, it was kind of discouraged to ever kind of like stand out or try to be in the spotlight unless Dave saw something about you. And then, you know, like with Tommy Smokes, he used to be Incredibly Stupid Tom or something, because it was like one thing that caught his eye about asking about a fact for the rundown. So I think I just kind of like off the jump, because I came from that Barstool, I just very much learned like just do my job as to whatever can get me to keep ascending the ranks in producing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't so much like I tried to like stay out of any type of like limelight or anything like that. And I also, you know, I don't know. I'm probably not the best for that either. So I think that's why maybe I'm more of a ghost. I'm just more of like a strictly behind the scenes guy. But yeah, for now, right now, my latest kind of like day to day is title is senior producer at Barstool. So I'm Corey Rutledge. Shout out Corey. He's like the head of all production at Barstool Chicago, and I'm just kind of like working with him pretty much every day. It's a lot of general overseeing production day to day in the Barstool Chicago office. So that can really encapsulate anything. So it can kind of change week to week. So right now, my most consistent thing is I'm producing the Pro Football show, and that's like our in-studio show. So there's like a few elements that go into that on where we shoot Thursdays. Now I'll edit the episode, make sure it's posted, make sure all the ads are correct, all the graphics, working with graphics. It's a lot of communication, a lot of meetings, a lot of Slacks. And then on top of that, just making sure that kind of managing all of our other lower level, just all the other producers basically that we have underneath us. So just making sure that all of the shows have enough people, like just delegating kind of like workload. And it's a lot of just being able to like jump in where I'm needed and then also delegate where I'm needed, and just having more of like a senior veteran kind of, I guess, idea of how Barstool works, and knowing how it just, at this point, I've just been doing it for so long that I'm able to just, it's just a lot of that. I'm not doing a good job explaining it, but
no, I think you're right. You're doing a phenomenal job.
We get it though.
Selling yourself short again. Earlier he said something. He's like, "Yeah, I worked with this one star show and on something." I was like, "Dude, stars and CBS.
Yeah.
Power was."
He said two shows and a movie, and then didn't drop the names. I was going to tell him to drop the names, and then he drops them later. I'm like, Jesus Christ,
he's selling himself short. But that's that production. That's that grinder mindset, though. I understand that. He's still, even when he's getting interviewed, he's still like, "Well, I'm kind of behind the scenes." It's like, no, you're not, man. Like, we want to learn about you, but yeah, it's the path again. It's just inspirational. This is maybe a random question. What are the names Emily Tanner, Vicky Palacio, and Teddy mean to you? Anything?
Emily Tanner and
Vicky Palacio. You mentioned how you like White Sox Dave. He wrote a blog about you in 2021. He was just bragging about how he made you follow 3 hot chicks on Instagram.
Oh, first of all, I don't think I mentioned I liked White Sox Dave in this interview, but
yeah, my bad.
But I do like White Sox Dave. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was that was kind of like a fun like second chapter of my Barstool career, was the move to Chicago, and being able to like work in that small office with those guys. That was fun because, it was a way smaller office. And I guess I was a little bit more in the mix of content, just because I had to be, because everything was so tiny that like me being there, I had to kind of interject at some points or be involved or just kind of unintentionally be in the world of White Sox Dave and winding up in a blog because I think that was that might have been like one of the discussions on like a Barstool radio thing that came up. And
I remember your name coming up once before during that stuff, and I was like, huh.
I mean, the chicks were hot. I was wondering if you still followed them or not. Emily Tanner, Vicky. Maybe I'm murdering her last
probably
name.
Not, because every now and then I'll like be on Instagram. And I'm like, I'm just seeing too many half naked girls, and I'm like, and I'll see like it's because I followed them, and I'm like, why do I? And then you just unfollow.
Yeah, why do I do that to myself? Then you go through the reels and it's a whole mess.
It's just brain rot. I'm just rotting my brain. Like it's just I don't need that in my life.
Yeah, no, I actually stay off of Instagram for that reason now because I'm so bad.
I'm reeling back my social media use, or at least I'm trying.
Well, you just mentioned the Chicago move, but you said that you're literally from Manhattan. So I'm from New York. You know, shout out Mets, Jets. Tough loss last night, but we're still there. It's a good team. It's all right. We'll be there.
Great team.
So, I mean, were you ready to like get out? Because like I was saying, I'm from New York, but I'm from Long Island. I was born in Brooklyn, but I'm from, I grew up on Long Island, live in Florida now. Were you ready to like get out to move to Chicago, or was that like a tough thing because, Barstool in New York was still a thing, or is still a thing?
Yeah, it was very much like the situation, the time, like it wasn't easy, but it just made sense at the time. And I just kind of found myself like mentally in a similar space where I was when I took the huge leap of quitting my full-time job to take the risk to an unpaid, just because I knew, like back when I did that jump too, I was super confident. I knew that in a weird way, like I knew Barstool was going to be the next big thing. I didn't know it was going to be so big that like this big, but at least in the churning days when it was growing, I was like, I kind of like knew that it was going to be this big. Like,
I was gonna say, I'm gonna just toot your own horn because you're not gonna say it, but I feel like you knew you're better at editing than most of the people there, and you can be successful at this company, right? So you were like, let me get in there and show them what the fuck I could do.
Well, back then, I don't know, 2016, I was, like I said, there was a lot of, like, I remember editing a rundown. There was like a very like small thing in editing that I kind of forgot about. And it was just something I realized, like, oh shit, like, because I was kind of rusty. So like, I would say to like Loud Sean, like, yeah, I could do that. And then like on the side, I would have to hide, but I would like open up YouTube and like look up how to do that. So like back to what you were saying of like Hank lied, like we all have to do that. Like I lied at some point of like but eventually just from doing it. And, I think you learn a lot by doing that. It's just a lot of the more hands-on experience you have, the more you learn. But yeah, I mean, when I was 2020, there was COVID. Like I said about having roles or jobs at Barstool, you can be my role where you're kind of overseeing a lot of different things that are happening in the day-to-day production world at Barstool, where it's like, all right, what do we have this week? What shows are happening? Do we have enough people on there? Like, or you could be like Max, and it's like I'm producing part of my take, and everything else is like, so at one point I was the producer of Call Her Daddy. So like that was my life and that was my job. I was very much like everything outside of like, that was just my one thing was Call Her Daddy. It was like that was my job, as producing Call Her Daddy. So like that was just recording, editing, everything Call Her Daddy, nothing else. It just so happened like that whole drama of the Sophia and Alex split happened like I think like a week before the pandemic blew up. And I'll like, when we had that original week off where it's like, all right, let's just like stay home for a week. Everyone stay home for a week. We don't know what this is. Follow up. If you produce a show, like follow up with your content, see if we want to start like organizing people to like set up professional like home studios so they can record at home in cases. So when I was trying to do that, they weren't answering me. So now I'm sitting at home with like COVID happening. No one really knows what's happening. And Alex and Sophia are like ghosting me. And I'm like, I don't really have a job right now. I don't know what's going on. Everyone's kind of freaking out. A week later goes by. Everyone's getting laid off from their jobs. And I was kind of like shitting my pants. I was like, what the fuck? What is happening? And then everything kind of came out like to light. Like I think like that all happened in the beginning of COVID. So for like a week or two, my day-to-day was just waking up and doing literally nothing. And I was like, that, like, I don't enjoy that. Like I was having like an anxiety attack. Like I just was like, do I work at Barstool anymore? Like what the fuck? But no, like thankfully, you know, my bosses at the time, they were like super like communicative, like supportive. They're like, no, like this has nothing to do with you. Don't worry. This is like a lot of shit that's over your head. It's above you. Like don't.
Yeah.
You're still good. We'll find. So during that summer, I was just kind of like in no man's land, which is like not a great place. It's not really where I'm comfortable. I was just kind of like being given projects to edit if they needed help on it, but it was just me sitting around. Like I would get projects for like young page views for like Barstool Outdoors and having to like edit those videos, but not really being involved with like the actual brand.
So prior to this, you were basically the max for Caller Daddy, just to clarify. Like you were just not like you weren't. I'm saying like that was your main focus, is what you were saying. Like you were Caller Daddy, and then they kind of stopped. So then you were like you were saying, you were kind of in no man's land. Like, what am I doing? Am I still with Caller Daddy? I'm still doing a couple other things, but you didn't have like a set everyday thing. That's what you're saying, right? Gotcha.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I didn't love that. I wanted like I wanted to get back to focusing because I like doing that. I think that's what I'm good at. So then I don't know, like I've talked about it on Barstool Chicago shows, but the story of like how I wound up in Chicago is also pretty fucking nuts.
Please share.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have
No, I said please share. Yeah, no.
For sure. But it was
no, my bad.
Like right around August, like again, like kind of like towards like the breaking point, like where I was like I wasn't sure what was going on. Donnie does hit me up asking if I wanted to come with him to Chicago because he wanted to shoot like just content in Chicago for a weekend. And at that point, it was still very much like COVID was still very much a thing, like lockdown was a thing, but there's a lot of like outdoor things you could do in Chicago, like go out on the lake. And he had all these things planned. And I was like, hell yeah, like that sounds awesome. So I'm there for a weekend, do some stuff Friday, do some shoots Saturday. I think it was like Sunday. We're out on a boat on like one of those like paddle boat things. Like it was like I don't know, whatever. So we're out on a boat, and then like I see kind of like there's some drama happening with the Barstool Chicago guys, like Chief, Carl, White Sox Dave, like they're kind of huddled on their phone talking very serious. Like, what's going on? We get off the boat, and they said that their producer, who they had at the time, kind of had like a medical kind of emergency thing, and he had to basically quit like on the spot. Like his wife had to call them and tell them like. So they were left with like it's Sunday, and the next day is Monday. They have a serious radio show, like a live show. They have all these things that need to get done, and he was their only guy. So they're like looking at me. They're like, "Well, we're gonna figure something out." And like the natural thing was just like I was just gonna stay for a couple days or a week to see like until they get any kind of help. So I stay there. I'm like, I have nothing else going on, you know, like there's nothing, you can't really do anything in New York. Again, like I wasn't now I'm able to like fill in to be a producer for a brand, a show. Right. And I came in and just having more of like experience and coming from the world of the Barstool New York office, I was kind of able to come in and I think kind of like fix some things that maybe they weren't given like all the resources for, but for me, it was just kind of easy. So like, it just was like a very natural fit from the beginning. So like a week turned into 2 weeks, and then they're like, we're not finding anyone. Like, can you stay for like a month? So I was like, all right. So I stayed for like a month in an Airbnb while they still continued this search of like the permanent, like fill in. And so that door, like it wasn't really going well. And then one day, like Eddie and Chief, like invited me out for a beer, and they sat me down and they brought it up officially, like what I consider just moving out permanently and being their guy. And I was like, yeah, I mean, obviously I've been thinking about that. So I had to like, you know, that was a hard decision, but it just made sense too. Just at the time. Cause I don't know. I think maybe if like COVID wasn't a thing, I wouldn't have made the jump, but it's just in my life too. I had other things going on where it was good for me to get out of New York and just have a pace. And in a weird way, if you grow up in Manhattan, like, and you move back to Manhattan right after college, in a weird way, that's like a bubble, you know, like I was staying in my own bubble. even though it's New York City. It's like, do I really want to stay in one island for the rest of my life? Or I'm always a big proponent of like, go out, do things, experience new things, don't be stagnant. So had to kind of give myself that pep talk to make the jump, but it wasn't easy at all, especially in the beginning, because I didn't know anyone in Chicago at the time. So I was kind of like just going to work and then going home and doing nothing for a lot of months.
Yeah. So my question earlier actually was incorrect almost, because I was saying, were you ready to jump ship out of Manhattan, which you're basically saying you were, because you were kind of in the bubble, you were ready to do that. But I guess I missed. I thought you moved when like kind of everybody went there. You went before that, obvioly, is what it is. And that's what all this White Sox Dave stuff was, because you were there doing that stuff. Now I'm remembering all this.
I was ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Well,
so was the office even a thing? Like
no, that was the small one that Dave made fun of, right?
No, I'm saying like the big office now. Was that like
I'm in that video.
Yeah. No, the big office wasn't even thought of until after, way after that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that was another thing too. Like I just being kind of familiar with Barstool and working there for so long. I also was a fan of Barstool Chicago. So I also kind of, again, I thought it also made sense to follow that and follow, Chicago as this is a place where I think bigger and better things are going to be happening. Didn't know at all it was going to be this where we're at now. And that's how I wound up staying for so long. And that's why I'm still here. It's because that was like the end of 2020. And then I just remember in my head, I was giving myself like deadlines. So I was like, all right, nothing's permanent. I'll be here for like a year. And if I hate it, then like I can just go back to New York. It's
yeah. Does it make you a little sad that with the mid show? Is the mid show that is switching over to the Bears show now? What are they calling it? Is it unnamed still?
I think it's still unnamed. But I think it's I'm pumped for them. I think it's like it sounds like it's something they really are like want to do. So I think it's just kind of like a natural kind of progression. It's also myself, but also Barstool Chicago as the brand itself has gone through so many different changes within the last few years that led us to this new fantasy factory that Big Cat brought everyone into. So we ourselves were going through all these changes from 2021 up until last year, really, when the move happened, where we were in the small office and it was just me and they had the Sirius show, but then Sirius ended and then we were actually able to move into another office, that secondary office. So like when we were moving to that secondary office, I was like, oh shit, like I might have to stay here another year now because we're growing. And then like personally, my own job and my role at Barstool, I was getting promoted into bigger and more senior level positions that I wasn't beforehand, because I was able to now, I was interviewing for interns to help. And then that turned into Harry, who became
He just followed me back.
He did?
He just followed me back. Yeah.
So Harry was like my first guy. And it was my first time where I was like managing someone underneath me. And that was a great experience for me and myself. And I don't think I would have gotten that experience in New York because I had this kind of like, I always get the phrase wrong, big fish in a small pond or whatever. But I was, we were running our own office, but it was just us. So I was having the experience of like what it's like to run an office and a brand and multiple different shows, but like without the crazy high stakes of it being like all of Barstool. It was just Barstool Chicago. We had our own little kind of office going where we had our own, we were just growing. We got Lance after that. We were getting more interns.
Yeah, I mean, you started off as a senior producer essentially, and now it's grown up into, maybe it's a matter of circumstance, matter of grind. It doesn't matter. I mean, you've climbed to where you are for a reason because you're willing to take those risks and jump.
It's what life's about, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I commend you for that, bro. One thing I commend you for is playing on a bad softball team. The Pugs, are they dead?
Dude, disappointed in my Pugs, man.
yeah. I'm hearing that they're dead.
We're not a bad softball team. It's just nobody could play, and that was I think we're all a little bit.
Oh, no one could play. Like they couldn't show up, right? Yeah, Big Cat's on PMT, literally texting the group chat, telling you guys.
Big Cat's trying to tank our team. That was sad to see. He was trying to tank the Pugs at one point. It was playoffs, and he was like, "All right, I'm pulling all my guys. But we wound up playing, but we lost. But no, the summer league was rough. We didn't win a single game. I was saying, like, dating back to like even Little League, I don't think I've ever been on a team. I've played sports my whole life. I don't think I've ever been on a team in any capacity where I finished the season not winning a single game. So that
hurts.
Yeah, it's brutal.
That was a weird, that was like, oh, but it's somehow even like more sad when you're a 31-year-old man with a full-time job and it's just like a beer league out on Thursdays and you're like, did I just waste? And you're paying money to do it, and like you have like other adult responsibilies, and I'm like,
your team's named after the guy that's not coaching you anymore.
Yeah, Pug fucking put on us, man. It was the summer season was a disaster. I don't know if we're bouncing back after that summer season.
He broke the news that he wasn't coaching the team on our podcast when we had him on. It was crazy. We were both like, we and Jonathan were like, what? You're not coaching? He's like, well, just for the summer. We'll see about, the fall league or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't like this. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I think he knew the response was going to be contentious, which it was, because in our group chat, I think he sent like a meme and then it was just Pog has left the conversation. And we were like, whoa. And then we added him back in. We're like, what the fuck are you doing? And he was like, well, I don't know if I can commit on Thursdays. We're like, all right, but you can't leave us like that, dude. Like,
yeah, like we got to talk this out.
Crazy.
Yeah, we got to get some direction here. Who's next in line? Yeah.
People were just snapping at each other. It was tough.
Yeah. No, I get jealous, you guys. Would you guys switch to 16-inch for if Big Cat plays?
I mean, at this point, it's almost like we're getting forced to. It's also like, again, after that summer season, if people aren't going to commit and we can't get the guys, then it's like, what are we holding on to? Like, I would love to play 12-inch the other way, but
yeah.
Shout out to anyone watching this who has no idea what we're talking about, but that's like a Chicago thing that I learned.
If you're watching this, you're niche enough. Oh, you're talking about
out here, Frankie, you're a New York guy. It's also when I was back home a couple weeks ago, my family has like a softball team. Two of my brothers, like they're like the head coaches of it. That's Gemini Waterproofing. It's my dad's like small business that he has in New York. He sponsors the team. I played on that. I subbed on that team. They had a doubleheader. I was horrible, and it's a totally different style of softball. They play with like the 12-inch size, but it's soft like the 16-inch one. It's like a pillowy one, and it's like more like it's underhand, but it's like baseball strike zone. It's not the high pitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's more flat. It's more flat. And it's harder to hit like home runs. But my dad was like 6'6", like 280 pounds, dude. So he was, I was a kid watching him play. He was putting them like above the trees and shit. And I was like, why don't people just do that? It was like, so crazy. But dude, I'll tell you what, softball, I'm 35 now. I have 2 kids. I've kind of stopped that after 5 knee surgeries and all the different 2-toe surgeries, tore my Achilles almost, like just all the stuff that's happened to me in my past. It's just like God telling me not to do this stuff. And I keep doing it anyway. Yeah, it's all the people from New York that live down here that we just like my high school baseball team just started a softball team and just dominated for like 8 years in a row. And it was so much fun. And then, all of it breaks up and you're just like, oh, now this isn't the same. This kind of sucks. We lose a couple games and it's like, all right, this is terrible now, so
it's not fun when you suck.
Yeah. I mean, like it might be fun if you do 16-inch and you got Big Cat there. And even if you lose games and stuff, it's still fun, whatever. But losing's never fun.
That 16-inch shit looks weird, man. I mean, you're dancing.
I don't like that. The height and stuff.
I don't know if I'm into you don't wear a glove, which I don't understand.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's weird. I didn't my first time seeing it in action was Barstool camp. So I don't know if that was fully accurate on how to play it either. But I mean, Eddie seemed to be well versed in it. Speaking of Eddie, fuck Bernstein, right?
Yeah, dude. Fuck
Brownstein. Yeah, Brownstein.
Dude, fuck that. I watched that so many times just to get more mad. You ever do that? You hate watch something? Like I was like, this is getting me mad, but I want to keep watching it because fuck this guy. Because I just, you encounter that so often just in different capacities of just people like with some type of arrogance or whatever it may be, just because like you're working in Barstool or it's just.
And it's his fucking last name too. I don't understand that. It makes no fucking sense.
When Eddie explained it too, it made me even more mad. Like, because I don't know anything about him. I didn't know that there was like that he had always been this kind of an asshole and that he had always hated Barstool. So like once he said that, I was like, oh, he's one of those like people who's been in sports media who decided to react to Barstool Sports's like growth in a way of like
jealousy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I hate that. Like,
yeah, I mean, they said he used to be that guy, commented on sideline reporters' tits, getting himself suspended from.
Yeah, he's got tweets coming out that he's saying women's sports.
He's got some bigotry in there. Yeah. It's bad stuff coming out, and that's what happens when the Stoolies attack. They'll be mean to Eddie. Eddie's the nicest guy in the world. Fuck.
That's the other. He couldn't have. I was cracking up too. It's like he tried being like a tough guy by saying like, you don't know me like that, and it's like little did he know like where like how much weight Eddie holds behind that, like him, like he's like, and Eddie handled it so well by just like laughing at it, like yeah, all right, got it. Yeah, but he would have been fair to say like, you don't know me, dude. Like, watch the shit.
I honestly wish Eddie would have been like, wait, you want me to call you a nickname? Like I just called you your name. Like, I don't know you well enough to call you that nickname. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Because that was the craziest part. Actually, my dad doesn't really know much about Barstool. He knows I do this podcast, so we like occasionally like see some stuff. He watched like the Portnoy and Trump interview things and stuff like that, you know, because he's like a little political guy. But it's like watching sorry. Fucking kids, dude. I'm sorry. Just lost my train of thought because my son's just standing at the step right now. So we'll have to cut that potentially, but
you're good.
Sorry, my wife grabbed me. I sent my dad that video and I was like, look at this guy's reaction. Like, what a pussy. And it was like, just because, you know, he said, don't call me that, you know, whatever, which was weird because he's, you know, my dad's like, wait, he wanted him to call him his nickname. But then the ending part, I was like, make sure you watch the end. Where his like, co-host was like, what do you call you? And he's like, and like did it with like this little like Bernstein, like whatever. And it was like, he didn't say it like that at all. And that was just such a little bitch thing to do. My dad was just like, he's like, wait, he's like, I'm so confused what you're wanting me to like watch here. And I'm like, that's the point. Like, I just wanted somebody not in the Barstool world that could say, wait, what is this guy complaining about? Like, what's happening here? Like, my dad was so confused. And I was like, this is exactly what I wanted. Thank you. You know, it was just like, what the
There's no more to describe.
No.
There's what you just saw is exactly it. He called him his name, and that was the reaction.
Yeah.
My dad just wrote back live ? That was the next thing I got.
Yeah. He's gonna get professionally harassed. Professionally.
I can picture your dad, Frankie, Long Island.
Yeah.
Our dads are probably very similar. My dad's from Long Island. Shout out Brentwood.
There you go.
Yeah. Shout out Belmore, Merrick. But yeah, slick back hair. You pretty much got it. I'm pretty sure.
Italian.
Yeah, Italian, 6'6". Just.
Oh yeah.
Your dad's 6'6".
6'6",
like,
280.
Aren't you like?
And my mom's like 5'3", 120.
Frankie's like what, 5'8"?
I'm 5'10" when I have my shoes on.
Not bad.
So
average.
Yeah.
No, I just meant like if I'm barefoot, like technically I would be 5'9".
I feel, he's kind of he's giving us the PFT. I think he's
no. I'm being honest. I mean, the last time I went for a physical, the doctor said 5'9" and 3/4, and I was like, "You're gonna really do that to me right now?" And he was like, "Yeah, 5'10". I'm like, "Yeah, but you said that now, so my head's always gonna know I'm fucking lying when I say 5'10".
I mean, this is the point of the breakdown to where I guess I go into my last questions. I don't really have a ton of last questions for you because, like I said, it was hard to find anything on you besides your LinkedIn. So that's why I was excited to do this interview. We got to chop it up with you for over an hour. And I think it's one of the better stories I've heard about like getting into Barstool and having the passion for it as a fan outside, being a stoolie, and then giving up the job to go and get it and chase your dreams. I mean, that's like, they say it all the time. Anyone would jump at the opportunity to work at Barstool. There's a million of us that want to, but it's about those who are willing to get up and go do it. And matter of time and place. And you went up and did it, and that's impressive shit. So thanks for telling me your story. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, it feels weird just having to talk about myself, but
but it's fun every now and then.
I delivered some good nuggets.
Yeah, that's what this podcast is. It's perfect. And it's like most people then after they're like, oh, well, this person would love to do that. They love to talk about themselves. So it's always like a good way to jab at your friends too there. So
yeah.
Wait, I forgot. I had one more thing. I had one more thing here real quick. Just because, you're into movies and producing and all that stuff. What's your favorite movie and like genre? Like, what do you like?
Favorite movie? Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels by Guy Ritchie.
Huh?
Huh. Okay.
Never heard
Gonna
of it.
have to. I was gonna have to look that up because that's a very film degree holder answer. It feels like
It is. Yeah,
it's not even like a big like film guy. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like a cult classic now. But when I was like a kid, my dad would put it on, and it was just one of those kind of corny things where like the way that movie made me feel, that's where it clicked of like, I want to like do that. I want to like create that kind of shit. So that movie's cool. I recommend it because it has like everything. So it's like, there's a lot of intersecting storylines where it's like, it's like a British crime comedy, dark comedy drama where there's a lot of smart dialogue, a lot of cool cinematography, a lot of cool artistic like coloring, a lot of montages, a lot of cool music, a lot of incredible characters, a humongous, huge twist ending, violence, suspense. It has kind of like a touch of everything, so maybe that's why it kind of like got my attention so much.
Give me a little Clockwork Orange vibes.
Yeah, except it's not as it's more lighthearted, you know, like it still has it has like iconic. It's it's Jason Statham's first movie. It's his debut into as an actor.
No way.
Yeah.
What year? Do you know what year it was?
2000
on the dot
ish. We got it. That's good.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys? I mean, if you know Snatch with Brad.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So just picture it's that like Snatch was like his follow-up work, Guy Ritchie. So, it's very similar to Snatch. It's just even more like artsy and a little bit more raw because it was before Snatch, so it doesn't have huge actors like that, or at least huge American actors. I know there's probably some big English actors in there, but yeah, I mean, so that's always been, I think I could just, because everyone always asks, and I'm like, that's just going to be always my favorite. And then, yeah, I love those kind of films. I'm also just a huge fan of like the Twilight Zone and any kind of like genre bending, like sci-fi. I don't know, like sci-fi drama. Like I love Interstellar. That's probably like a close.
That's what I was about to say. I was thinking Twilight Zone. I was like, Interstellar is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of that. You know, peeking behind the bookcase or whatever. Is that?
Yeah. Like those kind of movies, I go nuts for. Prometheus. Like I just saw. Like now it's like Twitter's so weird because every now and then people will like remake something old viral, and now everyone's talking about Prometheus. And I was like, I fucking love Prometheus when it came out. And
where the fuck were you guys? Yeah,
it was. I remember. I almost want to look it up. It got so shit on by reviews, and now it's like a cult classic. Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, it happens with so many things nowadays too. It's
so
weird.
Yeah. There's people that are gonna, you know, in the future they're gonna look back on the breakdown and be like, oh shit, this show's awesome. And there's like 10, there's like 10 people out there right now that love us. So yeah, we're on the same path.
You guys are doing the same thing.
Yeah. Remember that guy Tom Leigh? He's got like a couple Golden Globes and these other things or whatever. He was on this show talking about what he used to do. He used to work for the show Power too. He was changing sheets at one point. It's unbelievable.
You guys keep saying like you couldn't find anything on me. I guess maybe I was doing that on purpose in a way, but after this comes out, it'll be like the most, I think, like amount of information about me on the internet. So they'll be using this as reference as a reference.
That's right.
Yeah. To those
when they write the APA format, we're gonna have to be in the resource page. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Resource page or not.
Sorry, I'm a teacher. That was a stupid fucking comment.
Resource page or not. We appreciate you again for coming on and telling us your story. Again, it's one of, if not, you know, I appreciate it so much because it's that you were a stoolie and you grinded, you had the opportunity and you took it. Like that shit, like I said, inspirational. It's next level, especially when it comes down to Barstool Breakdown, because you were a fan first too. So it's awesome. Thanks again for coming on. I got to get out here soon because my dog's literally in my lap.
Yeah,
go outside.
Well, shout out to you guys because you guys are doing the same exact thing. You guys are grinding. You're doing your shit right now. So, you know, I wanted to share that with you guys as well because we're, you know, pretty similar ballpark in a way.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, dude. Like I said, drunken night in Chicago. Yeah, you agreed to this. Finally, make it happen. It's love when it comes to fruition. Appreciate that, man.
I really enjoyed it. But let me know. Hit me up whenever you guys are back in Chicago or at like a Barstool event. I'd love to see you guys again and say what's up.
It's the Barstool Breakdown.